Council members, the first item on the agenda today is a mayor's report. It is, we've had Earth Day celebrations here in the city of Houston, and there has been some discussion recently about the tremendous number of green initiatives that the city is engaged in. Wanted an opportunity for our sustainability director to come talk to you. We are a national leader in sustainability. We continue to receive accolades for that, but we don't do it just because we get attention. We do it because it's been really good for the city's bottom line. Those of you who know Laura Spanjian, who's the Director of Sustainability, and have met with her, know that she has a lot of information that she wants to convey in a very short period of time. She's going to be speaking very fast because I gave her a very brief amount of time, but I thought it was important so that everybody would have an understanding of what's going on and so that you could help us expand our reach in these areas. So, Ms. Spanjian, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor Parker. Appreciate being here today, and it's a pleasure to be your sustainability director and work for the city of Houston. So let me just talk a little bit about what our sustainability office does and who we work with. Next slide. So we have many, many partners that we work with in the city. Couldn't get what we get done without working with everybody. So our office is City of Houston Sustainability Office. We're about to formalize a sustainability council that will include members of our city departments that work on a host of issues from air quality to recycling, green building education, water quality conservation, and helping us, implement city sustainability policies. We also work, we're lucky, we actually have great partners in the nonprofit world that are national leaders. We work with the C40, the Clinton Climate Initiative. We actually have a city director that works right beside me. We're only one of 3 cities in the nation that actually has a city director paid for by the Clinton Climate Initiative. And we have a director from ICLEI, also one of a few cities in the nation that has a director paid for by ICLEI to help us with our sustainability initiatives. We also work with a number of nonprofits from Urban Harvest, Keep Houston Beautiful, USGBC, BOMA, et cetera, to launch all of our initiatives. Next slide. So let's sort of go deep into some of the things that we do. One of our big pushes has been around green buildings and energy efficiency. GSD has led a significant program around retrofitting our buildings to make them more energy efficient. We've had 80 buildings that have undergone audits that are complete or underway. We've spent $57 million to date, 5 million square feet. The Parks Department is the latest department that's had energy efficiency retrofits done in the last year. And our future work is to continue to fund this. There's a program that the federal government offers offers to cities low-cost bonds to do energy efficiency work, and we want to try to take advantage of that. We also want to certify our buildings to be Energy Star rated. In fact, just in the last few weeks, 611 Walker was one of our first buildings to become Energy Star rated. So that's extremely exciting. We do a ton of work on our city buildings when it comes to LEED certification. 17 are LEED certified, 11 are in the pipeline. The Julia Idison Library is LEED Silver. The new Houston Permitting Center down the street on Washington Avenue is LEED Gold. If you haven't been there, it's an amazing building that models all types of green practices, and it also houses our green building education center, which has over 40 exhibits in it for the public. We also have passed a number of city policies recently. Mayor Parker's passed a policy to make our buildings more energy efficient, to take away individual printers, double-side printing, take away space heaters to help us conserve energy. We've also launched an initiative to responsibly recycle our electronics. We actually haven't had a program like that. Just worked with ARA on that, and we are now responsibly recycling our e-waste. Next slide, please. We also do work with residents. We don't just focus on city buildings. We want to be a model, but we also want to take it out to the public. And so our residential energy efficiency is a grant-funded program, $23 million. We're a leader actually in the United States. A lot of cities couldn't figure out how to spend this money. We did. And 13,000 Houstonians have benefited, 12 to 18% kilowatt hour reduction. They save money, $65 to $125 per month. And we used a neighborhood approach to be able to do a lot of these, to weatherize a lot of these homes as quickly as we could to be able to spend the money. Also on the residential side, last year council passed our residential energy code. We are now 5% above the state code for energy efficiency, and this year at the end of the year we'll be coming to council again to increase that to another 5%. Next slide, please. We're also doing great when it comes to renewables. A little known fact, yes, Texas and Houston's known as the oil and gas capital of the world, but we're also known as the wind capital of the United States. Texas has the most wind production of any state in the United States. We produce 10,000 megawatts of wind a year. The city of Houston has benefited from that. We have decided to purchase wind from wind farms in West Texas, so we are the largest municipal purchaser of renewable power in the country. 35% of our energy the Power City buildings comes from these wind farms. We're actually number 7 overall, and that's when you include private business like Walmart and Intel, et cetera. For the future, we're looking to see if we can purchase more megawatts to actually become 50% renewable. Next slide, please. Solar, we actually are doing work on solar. It's a little more difficult because there's not as much solar in Texas. California is really the leader on solar, but we're doing a lot with a little. We actually have this great partnership, and Councilmember Sullivan has been supportive of it. We worked with the University of Houston, their School of Architecture. They created the first solar-powered container office. It's also a generator, and we received a large grant to put these emergency solar generators throughout Houston, and they're actually installed now at fire stations, schools. You voted on a school MOU a couple weeks ago. Neighborhood centers, and some of our parks. We also got a grant to understand how to help residents actually put solar on their homes. So we're looking at ways to streamline our permitting and standardize our permitting to make it a little bit easier for Houstonians to put solar on their homes. Next slide, please. Commercial office buildings. We have done a huge amount of work with the the private sector because they really are a huge user of energy. So we wanted to see, could we take our expertise, the work that we've done, and start to talk to the private sector about it. So to do that, we launched an initiative called the Green Office Challenge last year, and we've had a huge amount of support. 400 participants in the Green Office Challenge. We actually just had our big awards reception last week to celebrate all the people that did a ton of work over the last year to green their office buildings. What's great about this program, it's not just working with owners and managers to deal with lights and HVAC systems. We're actually working with tenants. A lot of times tenants don't think they can do anything in their office building to green it, but we've given them a ton of tools and a scorecard and education and outreach to show that they can, yes, do things to green their office buildings. So we had about half the participation was actually from tenants, which is significant. We also worked with them to on third-party certification to become LEED certified and ENERGY STAR rated. Next slide, please. We also wanted to put a little money into this program. We wanted to give them some incentives, not just education only, but some incentives. So we have a grant-funded program. It's called our Energy Efficiency Incentive Program, and we actually are providing to office building owners and managers money to do energy efficiency retrofits. We are trying to target Class B and C buildings because they're the smaller, older buildings. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit there. The Class A buildings have done a great job of green building work, but we want to target Class B and C buildings, but to get the money, they have to show a 15% energy savings. Next slide, please. We've really jumped up in our green building work. This is probably one of our most successful areas. Just literally yesterday, we were 5th in the country, up from 7th last year, and just yesterday, we actually are now tied for 4th in the country, which is amazing. We have a little bit more work to do on ENERGY STAR because we're number 7 in the country. Our goals for the future, Mayor Parker wants us to be number 1 in the country for LEED and ENERGY STAR. We're launching year 2 for the Green Office Challenge. We want to increase our participation. We have a revamped website, houstongoc.org, and we have the Department of Energy just launched their own version of what I call the Green Office Challenge. It's called the Better Buildings Challenge, and the City of Houston was one of the first cities to join. We've committed 30 million square feet, and the goal is 20% energy reduction by 2020. Next slide, please. Another area where we do a lot of work is our sustainable food policy initiatives. We have what I call the Sustainable Food Triangle right here at City Hall. We started with vegetable gardens in front of our Public Works building. No one thought they could grow. They're now thriving, and the staff from the Public Works building are doing a fantastic job maintaining them. We have another garden at Tranquility Park, and as you know, every Wednesday we started a City Hall Farmers Market. We've been doing it for almost 2 years now. It's getting more successful every week. But we've also done work, we're also doing work in the policy arena. The Mayor's Council on Health and the Environment created an obesity task force, and they want to launch what is called the Healthy Houston Initiative. And it's to deal with childhood obesity. It's to create more gardens throughout the city. We have an idea to use public land for community allotment gardens that we want to launch this fall. And they're trying to take on the food desert issue. Councilmember Costello has been a huge supporter and advocate for trying to minimize our food deserts. We actually had a supermarket summit last year, a couple of meetings with all the supermarket owners to see how we could address the issue. But we also know that education, more exercise, and building more community gardens in neighborhoods is a way to solve this problem as well. Next slide, please. On transportation, we have done a lot of work on electric vehicles. We've gotten a lot of grant money, and we've been able to turn that grant money and leverage it into a lot of initiatives to encourage people to drive electric and for us to bring electric cars into our fleet. Next slide. All of this work, our stakeholder work, our grant funding work, we now have 25 Nissan Leafs in our city fleet. We're one of the largest in the country. We have a microclimate plan and a deployment plan so we can understand the future of charging infrastructure in Houston and plan accordingly. We're putting charging stations all throughout Houston. The city has done it, as have our partners. NRG, they made the first private sector commitment to public charging infrastructure in the country in Houston. They're putting in 100 chargers, as is a nonprofit that is funded by the DOE. They're putting in 200 chargers. We have a robust website to educate the public, and we're actually working on incentives so that people, when they buy an electric car, they can actually get permitted for a charging station in their home in 24 hours or less by the city. Next slide, please. Bike share, this is another grant-funded program. Real excited about this. In fact, today they are installing the first kiosk for our bike share program right on the side of City Hall. The pilot will begin next week. This is a program where you can actually take a bike, ride it around, and put it in another kiosk that we will have throughout Houston. We're starting out with 3 kiosks downtown, but we hope to grow that to 200 by the end of the year with 20 bikes. It's been very successful. We're one of 15 cities in the nation that will have bike share. Every other city that's done it, it's been extremely successful. Next slide, please. I just want to really quickly touch on sort of our awards and articles, as Mayor Parker mentioned earlier. Mayor Parker won first place in the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It was a coveted award. It's the Climate Protection Award. Beat out 130 other cities for all of our green building initiatives that I mentioned. We've had numerous articles in national publications. And as you can see, we really are aggressive in grant funding, whether it's our emergency solar generators or a $1 million grant to put wind turbines and solar on top of our new Houston Permitting Center, all of our EV work, our bike share work, our motor pool. We're actually creating a downtown motor pool, which will be a municipal car share program. It'll be also one of the first in the country that uses electric cars. That was grant funded. So really all the work we do, we really try to leverage federal and state money. Next slide, please. Just a couple quick things. It's Earth Month, as Mayor Parker said. We've had a lot of initiatives already. There's a few upcoming. Mayor, we're in competition with other cities to be a leader in water conservation. So we want Houstonians to take a water conservation pledge. So it's called mywaterpledge.com. We're actually 7th in the country right now. We've got one more week to be number 1. So encourage all of your constituents to take the water pledge. Next slide. Lights Out Houston is happening this year again. We hit 100 million square feet last year. We want to top that this year, and so Lights Out Houston is on Thursday, April 26th. And just to end, next slide, we really want Houston to look like this, a thriving city with tons of green space and be pedestrian friendly and have great access for all kinds of activity. So this is really the vision for Houston. Last slide, please. And we use social media. We want you to follow us on all the things that we do. We're very active on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and our handle for everything is Green Houston TX. So please, please follow us and encourage your constituents to follow us as well. Thank you very much, Mayor.
You can breathe now.
Fantastic.